Welcome back, everybody. This is Dren608. I wanted to kind of go into an aspect of Pathfinder Kingmaker that a lot of new players might not really grasp on their first couple of playthroughs. We're just going to create a new character. Uh, uh, yeah, let's just go with something like that. Okay. This is all kind of where your first main decision comes. Um, this is important, skilled, in that humans gain an additional, and I believe half-orcs get it as well, and half-orcs. Um, this right here, this skilled, gaining an additional skill rank at first level, and one additional rank whenever they gain a level. This is hugely important, especially in Pathfinder Kingmaker for the main character, because you are going to be put in several situations. I would say probably my gut feeling is about half the time a skill check seems to have to be made by the main character, not by your party members. When you're out adventuring, usually your party members will be the ones that can contribute to your skill checks, and you can specialize, have somebody that's good at athletics and mobility, and somebody that's good at lore nature, maybe high wisdom people do the lores, high intelligence people will do the knowledge checks, and things like that. As the main character, two things have to kind of drive what you're going to do. One is you're going to have to make probably half the skill checks all on your own. Anything you're doing when you're in civilized area, like in Jamande's mansion, when you're doing conversations with people and stuff, when you're in your own, once you've established your barony, anything you're doing inside the barony, when you're talking to people, trying to negotiate things and whatnot, a lot of those things are going to be you making the skill check all by yourself. You don't get to use your party members. They did kind of fix that in Wrath of the Righteous. There, I think there's only there's like maybe 10% of the time it's just the main character's stats that matter. Most of the rest of the time, as long as the people are with you, as long as they're in your party, that they've joined your party, you get to use their skill sets to do things like negotiations or if there's an athletics check or something, or a mobility check, or perception or something like that, you get to use your characters in Wrath of the Righteous. Pathfinder Kingmaker, that's not true. It's very often it's the main character, I would say at least half the time. So you need to think about that when you're building your characters. Now, some of these classes, things like, albeit Wizard is not a good example, but there are a lot of classes where you only get 2 skills per level, 2 skill points, plus half your intelligence modifier. So if your intelligence modifier isn't at least positive, you're never going to get an extra. If it's just a 10, you're never going to get an extra skill. So that can be a problem because it's hard enough to get to 20th level in this, which would mean you'd only get, if you're getting 2 skills per level, you'd only have a maximum of 40 points to distribute, which means you would have to be very specialized. You could do maybe 2 or 3 things fairly well, and everything else would be just junk. So if you have to make that check, you just don't bother, because you're never going to make it unless you roll a 20. A lot of these DC checks, especially after you get out of the first chapter, you're in the 20s and above to make difficulty checks, which means you got to roll high and have a lot of pluses in your stats. For that reason, it kind of drives you, other than role-playing things, you're almost driven to either play a half-orc or a human because of this. Now, half-orcs, they get skilled and they get a bunch of things here. Keen Senses gives you an extra +2 on your perceptions. Using extra things here, if you're doing an intimidation check, which is a persuasion, but it's for intimidating, you get a +2. And this lets you stand up even at 0 hit points for one more round. It gives everybody a chance to try and heal you. Humans, the big thing they get is an extra feat. Now, some of the Asmares will get ability score bonuses in 2 places, but they don't get the extra feat. So unless you've got a fairly high intelligence, like if you're going to be a wizard, you might want to go ahead and do one of the Asmare ones. But for me, I've tried several of these races. The only one that makes sense for the main character really is either human or half-orc because of that extra skill point. And the reason why I say that is I'm going to go through a quick build here of a wizard. I'm going to use a human and I'll show you what I mean. Actually, I'm going to make something else. What did I make I have a series, streaming series that I'm doing on Saturday mornings, and it's a female monk. And one of the things I did is I took a human female monk because of the whole skill point thing. As the main character, you're going to be the king/queen, so you're going to be stuck trying to get skill points. So even as a wizard, where you're going to have a high intelligence, so we're going to go with a wizard because we're going to do a high intelligence. Okay, and I kind of like the Scroll Savant because of when you get to 10th level, whenever you're reading a scroll, you can do it there. Scroll Savants also get Scroll Focus. You get to add half your class level on Use Magic Device checks. So that makes it easier for you to read scrolls and use wands and all that kind of stuff. Even clerical scrolls, you'll be able to read them. So you kind of become a secondary cleric as well. Okay? You're forced to take an Arcane Bond, you'll get Detect Magic. Your wizards obviously don't fight. And you can do Specialist School and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go with Scroll Savant. A lot of people like to pick specific things here because you get bonus spells or whatever. I go with the Universalist. Because of the Hand of the Apprentice, you cause your melee weapon to fly from your grasp and strike a foe before instantly returning to you. As a standard action, you make a single attack using melee weapon, which is about all you'll ever make, with the weapon at a range of 30 feet. It's treated as a ranged attack with a thrown weapon, except that you add your intelligence modifier to the attack roll instead of your dexterity. Damage still relies on strength. Okay? So you can, whatever you happen to be using for combat, you can go ahead and do that. So I go ahead and do that, and I usually take Arcane Bond. I don't think the familiars are as important as this, because this lets you remember a spell. You can bring back a spell you've already cast on the day, which can help you a lot. This is where we get into the, what am I going to do here? You're the main character, so you're almost required to take a decent charisma. Okay? As a wizard, you're going to be doing lore and knowledge checks. Now, obviously as a wizard, I'm going to go up to at least 14, because I'm going to add 2 to my intelligence. Then you got to kind of look at these other things. What are they going to do for, if you highlight this, you'll see that what it does. Dexterity helps you with mobility, trickery, and stealth. Trickery is one of those things that you will have to do on your own, especially in your settlement, in your capital. Any trickery check is all you. Any mobility check there is all you, because you're all alone. You don't have any companions. I'm not sure if that works with if you have an animal companion. I haven't tried that yet, but that's something you have to worry about. Strength is athletics alone. You can usually get by without athletics. Dexterity is pretty good there. Con doesn't help anything. except for your hit points. And saving throw, fortitude saving throw. Intelligence is going to help your Arcania world and Arcania knowledge. Arcania and world. You'll see that for a wizard, these 4 are your class specials, so you get a +2 just because it's a class thing. So, and right now, the only reason why I'm getting 4 points up here is because you get 2 for being a wizard, you get 1 for being a human, and you get an extra 1 for your intelligence. Okay? So, I definitely want to get my wisdom up a little bit, my constitution, my dexterity. Because you have no armor, I usually like to have my dexterity be at a 14. And then a lot of times what I'll do, especially for like a wizard, is I will go ahead and go up to a 16. Now I only have 1 point left. Okay? Which means I can add 1 point to my constitution or 1 point to my wisdom. Now I know for a fact that from gameplay, the 10 strength is going to become a problem. Constitution, you're going to find a belt in the prologue that gives you a +2 constitution. So that can kind of wait, and you just depend on belts and augments and things. So what I do is I spend the last point on the wisdom to get my wisdom up and hopefully be able to get it up another point to give me more bonuses. You could, if you wanted to, drop this down and take your wisdom up like that and just go low on the dex and raise your dex when you get your first level. I prefer to go this way because your will saving throw, you get an extra 2 for being in the class, so it's not as important. Reflex is now up to a 2. My fortitude is only a +1, but like I said, I know I'm going to get a belt that's going to give me +2, which will raise my fortitude up to a 2, just like my reflex, after I get through the prologue. What that does now is that gives me 5 points there. Now, if you go in here and you go ahead and put the intelligence in, now you're up to an 18. You will be 5 points at every level. There is a potion you can get through Boken, spoiler alert. There's a quest for Boken that can give you a potion that will raise all of these by 2. Which, you know, is kind of important because it's basically an extra +1 everywhere. Which means then you'll get, you go up to an 8. If you go up to a 20, you'll get 5 on the even and 6 on the odd. And you're going to need these points because, again, I'm the main character. I'm going to be king or queen. I've got to have perception or persuasion. I should have knowledge as well. So I forego the use magic device on the first. What I usually do is I forego religion, and I go ahead and take the magic device on the first level. So now I can use any scrolls I find. My religion, I'm going to depend on having a cleric with me to do religions for right now. But I'm good on Arcania. Knowledge World helps you figuring out what monsters are and being able to cook. And Lore Nature is also finding out monsters, and Arcania is figuring out magic items. You do need to splash at least one thing in Trickery and Stealth. I can't remember about Stealth. I know Trickery is a trained skill, Magic Devices is a trained skill, and these are all trained skills. So, see where it says over here, INT trained only? That is what you have to look for in these things. These have to have at least 1 point in order to be able to do them. Perception is just your wisdom. Persuasion is just your charisma. Use magic device is trained based on your charisma. Stealth is just an armor check penalty. You're a wizard, you don't wear any armor, so you don't care. Trickery is trained only, so you have to splash a point in trickery to make you even have a chance to pick locks. Mobility is just an armor check penalty, and same thing with athletics. So trickery and your knowledge checks all have to have at least 1 point to give you a chance to be able to get there, okay? So that's something you need to think about when you're building your character. Depends on the class that you're in. Wizards get the majority of the classes are split between 2 skill points per level and 3 skill points per level. So the fact that I have a wizard with an 18 intelligence gives me extra points here. Every level, I'll be at 5. But if you're playing something like, I don't know, a fighter, you only get 2. If you're a cleric, you only get 2, maybe you get 3. So that extra skill point from race is going to make a huge difference in what you can be able to do over here, plus your intelligence. When I'm playing another race, if you go look at my, if you tune into my first video when I was building Fiona, the female monk that we're playing on Saturday mornings, her intelligence was a 14, so that she got an extra 1 every time. Okay. So that meant that she got 3, I think, as a monk, 1 for being human, and 1 for her intelligence. So she got 5. She'll get 5 around as well. Here, because the wizard's going to be high intelligence, I don't know why wizards are at 2s. I would think wizards would be the people that would learn more of skills, so that they would have extra points, but they have them at 2. I guess that's a game balancing thing. But because of the way the game plays, it's very important that you pay attention to what you're doing over here. Now, the next thing, when you go over here, you get some feats. And you'll see it says, hey, use point blank shot so that you not minus your +1 and close, and then you can get whatever. I hold off on that. Because I know how the game plays, the most important thing for you to do right off the bat, believe it or not, is to take a skill focus in persuasion. And you'll see why when we get to the end. And the other one that I usually take, you either take deceitful, which will help your persuasion and your trickery, or in my case, I usually take persuasive, because it helps my persuasion and my perception. Okay. And we go here, we got to pick spells. Always take magic missile and mage armor. I'm not sure, but I think the first 2 you pick are the 2 that you end up actually having memorized, so I always try and take those 2 first. I usually take burning hands. What's the other one? What else do I take? I don't remember what I take all the time. I usually take a ray of... Oh, shield. Yes, gotta take shield. I take snowball because it's a ranged. You know, you can throw it at somebody that's in close range, but you don't have to be right in front of them. You get 2 more. I don't really like Summon Monster 1 because it's a dog. I usually wait till at least 2nd level, so I have a choice of getting multiples. Multiple summons are good. Single summons usually not so good unless they're really strong. I think I usually take Ray of Sickening and Expeditious Retreat, so I can make myself move faster and run away faster, depending on how many spells I get. Next up, will be the Wise Gandalf.
I will guide.
Oh, and then I have to pick this, and we'll just call this guy Test Dude. Okay, and then you go here.
So it comes to this.
All right, so these are the things that you get. This says, bonded options once per day to restore any 1 spell for the wizard that I prepared for that day. I have 2 spells memorized. Okay. Does it show my spells? It doesn't show you which ones I actually have memorized, which is very annoying. You do get some of these, which, Ray of Frost and Acid Splash. They help in the prologue. You can use those a lot. total.
Combat is adjourned.
So, but if you look here now, I have a +7 in my use magic device. Right? Even my perception is based on my wisdom. So I have a 3 just because of my wisdom +1 and 2 from that. So I have a 3 perception. But my persuasion is at +8, along with my knowledge, world, and arcania. Just based on intelligence and then the fact that I took a skill focus in persuasive plus my 1 rank and my charisma. So at a +8 persuasion, there are things in the prologue when you get to talking to Jamande and things like that. Persuasion is very important to get you experience points, which you're going to need, obviously. And that's basically all I really wanted to go over, is that skill points are far more important than you think. You can play it without this. If we were to go back, and let's change ourselves to one of the Asmirs. Yeah, we're not going to worry about our appearance. And you get to pick one. Then these, it's a +2 to strength and charisma if you're angel. Emberkin gets +2 to intelligence and charisma, which is the one I would play because that matters. Okay? But now, so I got the +2 there, but my charisma actually went up. So my use magic device is actually up to a 7. And you'll see that my persuasion, I have 1 less point because I don't have the bonus from being human. So I actually have to take a point away. So I only will get 4 a turn. 2 from here and 2 for being a wizard. The Angelkin doesn't give me, or the Asmir part doesn't give me anything extra. So that makes things a little bit more difficult. Okay. Now here I get, where is it? Here? There's somewhere around here. So I get 4 for the intelligence, 3 for the class skill, and +2 because of the racial on that one. Same thing down here. You get scroll focus, class, and charisma. Okay. So, and the fact that my charisma is up an extra 2 is what helps me there. Now what you could do is you could drop this down. I don't 3 points is, I mean, you could try and chip yourself up here to a 19. And then your first level, you take yourself to a 20 to try and start getting some of those points back. But just by changing the race to that, it looks like, oh man, you get a +2 here and you get a +2 there, and you're going to be a really good wizard, but your skill points are going to be down. And in this game, these skills really do matter. Do not neglect them. Do not just say, oh, I'll just concentrate on perception and arcania and forget about all the rest of it. You will find yourself in situations in the game where you won't be able to accomplish your objectives and or get the experience points that you'll lose by not being able to make certain kind of checks. Certain kinds of loot you won't be able to get, and so on and so forth. So I strongly suggest, especially if you're first time through, if you're playing this for only the first or the second time, as far as races go, take a human. I know it's boring, but it makes a difference on you being able to do a fair amount of skills. Or a half-orc, because a half-orc will do the same thing. The one thing the half-orc doesn't get is an extra skill at first level. So that's one of the bonuses for the humans, is that you get not only an extra the skilled points, but you get an extra feat besides the normal +2 ability. A lot of these other races don't get that, okay? So based on your tiefling heritage, you get different, depending on what you are here, you get different pluses and minuses and so on. If you go with a different class, see now if you go with rogues are ridiculous because they get +5 skill points a level. So all they really need is an intelligence of 14, and they don't really worry about anything else. So as a rogue, you can play to any race you like. Rangers get 4. Who else gets 4? Somebody else on the thing gets 4. Anyway, I'm going to put a link to the wiki that I use, which is fandom.com's wiki for this. I will put that a link in the description for you to go and look. They have some very nice charts. They are filling out the charts for the Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous thing as well. The charts kind of overlap. So you will see something there that says Fast Learner as a racial feat for humans. That's only available in Wrath of the Righteous. I used that in my playthrough on that. And that, with my 14 intelligence and the fact that I was a wizard and a cavalier, or not a wizard, I was a cavalier, which I think gave me 3. Human gave me 1. I took intelligence, gave me a 5th one. And one of the earliest things I took was Fast Learner. And that gave me an extra one. So I was getting like 6 skill points a level. And if you go to... What's going on? I missed something. Oh, I don't want to be a tiefling. I want to be a human. Go back! Go back! I want to be a human. So I don't lose all that. And we'll give myself that back. Okay. What? Oh. Yeah, leave those. Persuasive. Yeah, okay. Expeditious retreat. Okay.
I'll need to review this spell later.
Alright, so when you look at the total here now, what's it going to show? So with this persuasion and use magic device, perception, you'll drop a point probably in perception and lore religion when you get your next 5. You definitely want to keep your persuasion going up. You probably want to drop 1 in trickery just so you can make the test in the future. Stealth is just something you can increase your stealth by getting silly things like invisibility potions and things like that. I tend to try to have 1 point in each of these with my characters, just so that I can make the checks, minimally. You're going to get belts that will help your constitution. There's even a belt that helps like all 3. There's crowns that help all 3 of these. I do not think that when you're wearing the crown that you get the extra points, if I remember right. It'll help you with, when it totals up for the check, but you actually have to, it's these numbers here that decide what you get as far as bonus skills and such. So as the wizard, you're probably going to put 2 points here, maybe drop 1 in your wisdom, and then the last 2 points, if you make it to 20th level, will be just your intelligence, because intelligence gives you extra spells and everything. Okay? So, yeah, like I said, there's a really nice wiki out there at fandom.com, I think it's called. I will put the link in the thing below. I just thought you might have it's just sort of a beginning thing to think about with your things. If you go, one of the things you can do, if you go change back to human, yes, human, is it before this class? No.
Does anyone require...
Oh, I screwed up. I hit the total button. So I'm going to go into the prologue, which I don't care about. So, all right. So I'm just going to exit out of this to the main menu. If you go with Rogue, you get 5. Ranger, and then there's like 3 that get 4. I know Ranger's 1. I think might be Bard. I think it's Bard and Ranger, and I think there's one other one that might get 4, like Inquisitor or something. But otherwise, it's 3s and 2s for your classes. So role-playing is one thing. But if you're trying to play this game to have a chance to actually make all the checks and do all the things you need to do, you really need to pay attention to your skills. And the best way to do that is go ahead and spend the points to get to 14 intelligence, because that gives you a bonus one every round. Like in my case, I was a wizard, so I'm going to get 2 every round, but I start with only 2, so I'm going to end up with 5. Whereas if you were, say, a dwarf, but you had a 14 intelligence, and I think clerics get 3, you'd get a bonus, you'd have 4 every round, every level. So it's something to keep track of. Do try to drop points in anything that says trained. Have at least 1 point there. That means you at least get to roll the die. This is where it differs from the pen and paper game. Normally in the pen and paper game, your group is usually with you. So it's like, who's got the highest perception? Who's got the highest charisma? Persuasion? Who's got the highest pick lock? Trickery thing. They'll go pick the lock, that kind of thing. That works when you're in a group and you're out adventuring in the world, but when you're in your town and in a lot of the dialogue choices, you don't get that choice. It's up to you to make the die roll. And in several of the book events, it's just you. You don't get to choose your companions to help you out. So that's part of a problem, too, to think about. Some of the things you will fail at because you just don't have the stats, the skill stats, to be able to make the die rolls. Or even to try if you don't have a point in it. So anything that says that it's trained, your first couple levels, make sure you get a point in everything that says trained. There's 5 of them, 5, 6 of them, 6 or 7 of them that require you to be trained in it to use. And then as you go along, I usually try to have at least 1 point in everything because it gives you a little bit of a bonus. And then you got to pay attention to magic items and spells that can enhance you to do things like, Bull Strength can help you with athletics if you need it. If you think you're going to need to do an athletics check, you drink a Bull Strength. If you don't have any other enhancement, it'll at least give you, a couple pluses to help you get through things. All right? So that's my take on skills. I thought I haven't seen anybody really discuss those skill sets in any of their builds. You go to build guides and they're talking about how to get so much DPS or how to get so much armor class, or how to maximize the number of spells that you can memorize and cast, and things like that, which is all fine and dandy, but they kind of leave out the whole idea that these games are based on skill checks. I would say 20% to 40% of the game, depending on the paths you're taking. I would say it's closer to 40% of the game is you making skill checks, making that athletics check to climb that tree, making that trickery check to open that chest that has a really nice item in it. And if you don't have the skill points there for somebody to do it, you're in trouble. Because you won't be able to, you have to wait till you're up another whole level. And I have found in this game, not only is it a level, but you also have to add a point to the stat to get a second chance at it. The other thing to worry about is make sure you always have, if possible, get your main character up on perception too, besides persuasion. Persuasion is because you're the king queen, you're going to talk to everybody. Perception is a very important one as well, because if you don't see the hidden door, you'll never get through the hidden door to get the story element you need to complete some story. And they don't give you second chances on persuasion. The only thing in the game they let you have a second chance as is trickery, which I find and athletics and mobility checks, you can keep trying them and taking damage if you fail. But it strikes me as it's odd that you can't get another perception check. It's like, first time you walk by the door, if you don't see it, you'll never see it. And it's like, why? I would think you should treat all the checks in the game as, if I go up a level and I spend a skill point in it, I'm now better at it. If I go by it again, I should get another shot at making the die roll. But it doesn't seem to work like that. So, beware, players. You can play it, and any race is playable. Race class combinations are all pretty much playable. Some races and classes don't make sense, like, halfling fighters tend to have a problem because they have a racial minus to their strength, but you can still get away with it if you go down the dexterous route. There's feats that let you fight with your dexterity. You'll actually see that in the Fiona playthrough. I'm going to go down the dexterity combat route rather than the strength combat route, and concentrate on my skills getting up as fast as I can to be able to get decent die rolls on as many of those skill buckets as I can get my hands into. Alright, so that was just a quick overview of skills and what I think might be important to people. I hope you found it useful. If you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up button. Really like what I'm putting out here. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the notify bell. You notified I upload videos and schedule streams. Like I said, I'm doing a streaming run through of Fiona the Monk. Her life goal, besides becoming the Baroness and then ultimately the Queen of the Stolen Lands, is to romance Tristan. So we're going to see if I can not mess that up. I almost messed up when I was playing as the male ranger. I almost messed up my romance with Valerie, but I managed to not end it, at least. But I had to do some extra things to get points to get her to go down the romance path. So now we're going to try and see if we can have the female character go down the romance path with Tristan, which should be interesting. I also probably will do another of the download content, the Varnhold's Lot. I understand that there's a very interesting path to go down if you're a female character there, so I think I'm going to try a female character there and see if I can... There's like a romance line, and then there's like 2 or 3 scenes where a female character can do things that a male character can't. Which I said, that's interesting. I think I will try that just to see what it's like. Don't know if I'll film that or not. If you guys would like to see me film that, please leave me a comment. Probably putting out a poll about some of these things that I'm going to do. I'm also going back to my original founding of this channel was for war games. Was what I originally started recording on these. I got a lot of followers when I was doing my Bard's Tale and then my Pathfinder, and I have a lot of followers for my wargaming. So I'm going to go back and try and cultivate some of my followers from wargame side of things. And at some point, I might have to try and split this channel. I don't know exactly how I can do that, or if I can split it up and say, you know, there's a role-playing channel here, and we put all the role-playing videos in there, and a wargaming channel for the other half, kind of thing, and so on and so forth. But I do try to split them up in playlists so that you can at least look for a playlist that of the suitable type that you would like. All right. Okay. It's enough of me talking. Like I said, if you like it, hit the likes button. The like button helps YouTube's, algorithms, so like buttons, please. And subscriptions always help YouTubers. Lets us know that people are out there watching what we're making, and they want to see more of it. So, if you'd like to see more of these how-tos, let me know. If you have specific questions on a build type, I can give you a newbie's point of view. I do not try to min-max things. I think it takes away from the game to min-max. But, there are role-playing elements that you can play around with as far as race and class that makes sense. So I can go through some of that if people are interested as well. So let me know. And I'm Gen608. Until we meet again, stay safe and bye-bye.